And we're on. Hello, welcome to podcast episode 159 of Rope and Oak Boxing. The two Daves are joined by the host of the Ringside Fracas Podcast, Naeem. Thanks for joining us, brother. It's great to have you back. It's been a while, but I'm looking forward to this one, mate.
Yeah, thank you for having me on. And yeah, boxing's getting cracking again, so it's great to come on and talk boxing with this great podcast again. I've been watching your stuff for a long while. Our first episode that we've had together, that was really good. We got into a lot of stuff then. Happy to do it again. Thank you for having me on.
No problem, mate. Do you know what? When was that? Because I've had a bit of a mare with like a certain podcast platform when I worked out how to do things for myself, as in upload things to YouTube, upload things to Spotify, and that certain podcast platform deleted a load of my episodes because I couldn't find the one that we was on together. So can you remember which one it was? I'm racking my brains, mate, and I can't.
I know when it was. You covered for me, Naeem, when I was on holiday, so it would have been August. Of last year, not this year. I was on holiday in August, so it would have been around that time, middle of August.
Yeah, I think same thing. Yeah, I think it would have been around that time.
Yeah,
I can't remember what fight it was on, but yeah. Anyway,
I can't remember the fight. No.
The second time we've got you on, brother. So let's crack straight into it. The Night of Champions this Saturday night. Ring 4, Saudi Arabia, Riyadh. 4 world title fights, boys. Unifications on the line as well. Us including Ben Rodriguez. Good card, good matchmaking. Benavidez versus Yarde, WBC light heavyweight championship of the world on the line. And don't forget about this one, boys. I didn't realise until I had a look properly today that the WBA regular belt's on the line as well. Well, you always need a regular belt. So we've got another unification here, if you like. But joking aside, Benavidez, boys, 30-0, 24 KOs. The Mexican Monster takes on Anthony Yarde, 27-3, 24 KOs. The Beast from the East. Naeem, I'll start with you. Is it third time lucky for Anthony Yarde, mate?
It's a closer fight than most people have saw it when it first got announced. I think a lot of people, the reaction online that you saw was that, Yarde's going to get done out, that this is a step way too far again for Yarde, because, when you look at Yarde's career, it's always been hot and cold. It's either you fight one of the top guys in the world or you fight someone that no one really knows about. And of course, if you go off of Yarde's last fight, not the Arthur fight, but before that, the one with Vilkans, and even the Arthur 3 fight, there's not much that kind of inspires you with hope. But I think it's much closer because Benavidez is someone who he's a good boxer, but he needs to come forward and he needs to throw his combinations, and that throws you into the line of fire. And Benavidez's defense is underrated. He's actually improved his defense in the last couple fights, where his high guard is actually quite improved, where he blocks the shots, but then he parries, slips. And so it's not just a static high guard, he's just absorbing punches. But Yarde's got a shot. I mean, Yarde is one of the bigger light heavyweights. He's very built, very athletic. And we've seen when Benavidez came up to 175, he's not the Mexican Monster. So this has all the potential for Yarde. I think out of Kovalev and Beterbiev, this is probably one of his better chances to get a big win on his record. Will that happen? We're yet to see.
You're going against the grain, mate. A lot of pundits, and I like it. You're going against the grain, because I would have said, like, well, I'm not saying it's nothing factual, it's opinion based, but I would have thought at the time Kovalev, because he was starting to go on his way out. But however, Anthony Yarde was so inexperienced back then, he had one round to get rid of him, and he's probably learnt from that. So yeah, mate, I like your thinking there, Dave. Anthony Yarde, third time lucky.
I think that Anthony Yarde is a danger in the first 5 rounds. I don't think that he does the rounds well for me. I think he's dangerous in the first 5 rounds, and I think that'll be telling. And I think if he's going to win this fight, it's going to be then. But David Benavidez does like to come forward, does like to have a fight, so he could play into Anthony Yarde's hand. So, yeah, I don't think it. Well, yeah, but it could well be his chance out of the three fighters that Naeem's just mentioned there with Kovalev and Beterbiev. I just don't see it. I really don't. I think that Benavidez is going to come on strong later in the rounds. But I think he's going to let Anthony Yarde tire himself out. I think he's going to box clever for the first 3 rounds. I think he's going to know that Anthony Yarde is dangerous in the first half of the fight, and I think he's going to play into his hands. I do think the first 5 rounds will be exciting, though, and I really do. I think it will live up to the hype of the fight and in the names. And I'm with Naeem here. Anthony Yarde does blow hot and cold. It's either someone you don't know, or it's an elite world champion. There's no in between. It's always the preparation for me that I worry about with Anthony Yarde, because he's never built up to this shot. It's always been he gets this shot, and he's been found, and I think he's been found out. I don't believe he's had the I wouldn't say warm-ups, but had the experience to fight fringe world level fighters where, he's had to dig deep, and he's got through that. He's just, all of a sudden, he's thrown into something that's amazing. And I think that's what goes against him. And I think this is exactly what it is currently with David Benavidez. I would have liked to have seen him go in with, he was talking about going with Buatsi, have them type of fights and then go in with, elite world champions. But, so I think it'll be dangerous early on, but
so Vilkins and Arthur part 3 were not great prep going into Benavidez, and basically, even though we've seen Arthur against Ray, and we saw a 2.0 version of him in the second half of the fight. But again, we've said this on here, Naeem, about Anthony Yarde. He seems to fight to the level of the opponent. Vilkins, awful. And I think he got away with one really against Lyndon Arthur. Lyndon Arthur kind of went for a walk second half of the fight, and he'd done enough. I don't think it was a unanimous decision, but he didn't look great. Beterbiev, he was in the fight. He had his moments. Yes, he got stopped. Kovalev was in there for so long at a very young age. Lyndon Arthur 3 had a point. Number 2, had a point to prove. Went out and smashed him. So again, I can see this being a very, very good fight. What worries me, lads, with Benavidez is that he can get a bit greedy, and he does like to trade. He has got those fast hands, fast combinations, but that plays into Anthony Yarde's hands. He's quite happy to hook with a hooker. If you throw, he'll throw, and he's the natural 1-7 guy. He's the one that's got the kind of concussive power. Benavidez, yes, has got accumulative power and can stop. Yes, he hasn't stopped anyone yet at 175. I believe that will come, not necessarily on Saturday night. But I think if he starts trading with Anthony Yarde and does get greedy and does smell a KO, he could get put on the floor. I could see both getting put on the floor, but I still see this as a 50-50. I'll do edge to David Benavidez, boys. But there's different kind of narratives and ways you can see both men winning. I mean, David Benavidez's feet, nobody's really talking about his feet. How well he's improved coming up from 168. He's getting in and out a lot quicker rather than standing. I did say he likes to trade, but that's when he gets greedy. He got a little bit greedy against Morrell, didn't he? Yes, he was winning the fight, but Morrell managed to put him on his backside and got a 10-8 round out of that. But what can you take out of the style of Benavidez, Naeem? The combinations and trading with Anthony Yarde and put himself at risk,
The thing with Benavidez, I mean, one aspect that's helped him throughout his whole career is he's a big 168er. He's much bigger than all the super middleweights out there. And at 175, he hasn't looked like the monster that he looked before. A good boxer then, and it's forced him to kind of rely more on his skills to be able to go forward. But also, like I said, he improved his defense. But he applies those combinations, and his volume in his engine is still better than most. And he was able to beat Gvozdyk and Morrell. The problem is they're bigger guys who can take some of these punches better, who can weather some of the storm better and fire back at the same time. He's going to have the same thing here with Anthony Yarde. He will be able to weather some of the storm, he'll be able to fire back. And like you said with the feet, David Benavidez can come in and out, but he does square up often, especially when he's throwing his combinations. And you don't have to have the biggest punch land on you to get knocked off balance, especially when you're squared up. He got dropped when Ronald Gavril landed that shot, when he squared up and just sat him down. It doesn't mean he has a bad chin. It just means his balance is off. So that he runs that risk, especially with the athletic and explosive guy. I mean, we've seen this year, athleticism and being explosive does matter in a fight. We saw Fabio Wardley. He's one of the most athletic heavyweights there, being able to explode into it and knock out Joseph Parker. And the same thing with Conor Benn, that explosiveness. It's a lot to deal with, and you really have to be on your game to deal with that. And if Benavidez makes a mistake and Anthony's able to time him in between those combinations, it will be a hard punch. And whether or not he gets rocked, he can definitely get dropped, especially with the way his feet are.
Timing beats speed then, Naeem, you reckon? Timing beats speed.
It could. Does it in this case? I'm not going for it. I'm just saying I don't think it's as clear-cut as some people make it out to be. I think Benavidez will have his work cut out. And Anthony Yarde is probably the stronger fighter out of the two. He's going to be able to outmuscle him. It's just the engine is what Benavidez has on him. He will be able to drown him in the later rounds.
Yeah, and the work rate as well. And work rate. I like I said, I think that Yarde, like I say, is dangerous for 5 rounds. I just worry about what happens going into the second half of the fight. We've seen it before with him. And like you said there, Fabio Wardley. I mean, Fabio Wardley threw 36 unanswered punches in round 12. do you see Yarde even being in that position, and if he does get to that, being able to do it? I don't. We talk about muscle mass and stuff. I think that goes against him. Yes, he's a big guy who can punch, but I think in the championship rounds that affects him. And we've seen with Benavidez. Benavidez does have good footwork, like you guys have said, and output. And I think output will be the difference later on in the fight. That's why I see that, this is, I'm not saying a 5-round fight, but I see that in the first 5 rounds, that's when the Yarde's at his most dangerous.
Go on then, boys. Make your predictions.
I'm going to say Benavidez points.
I'm going to say Benavidez by stoppage in round 8.
Yeah, I'm going to go stoppage for Benavidez as well. And I agree with you two, boys, about the kind of the muscle mass and the gas tank and lactic acid around his body. I'll go back to that Kovalev fight. I know it was 5 or 6 years ago, whatever it was. It was still just as big then. But if you remember that fight, Kovalev just kept using the left jab, and he was following him around. There wasn't a massive output from Kovalev. He wasn't being, pummeled with any kind of shots, and he was tired then. This is a kind of different output from Benavidez. If you can take, single shots off Kovalev, is he going to be able to keep up with the fast feet and the fast hands? I reckon he tires out. I'm not going to say RTD, but I reckon it'd be too much. He'll take a knee. He'll kind of look to his corner. Lines in the camp, all that rubbish. I don't want to hear none of that, because that annoys me personally. That's not great advice when you win a world championship fight. Remember, there's a regular belt on here, so it's very, very important that you don't get lines in the camp. But yeah, I'm with you, boys. David Benavidez to stop Anthony Yarde. I'm gonna go last round, round 12. Right, last round. I think it's gonna be a fantastic fight. I'm not too sure about this one, lads. Brian Norman Jr. versus Devin Haney. WBO welterweight strap on the line, vacated by Keyshawn Davis. When I say I'm not sure about this one, what I mean is it looks very good on paper. Devin Haney's got the resume, 2-time world champion, looking to become 3, looks massive. I've just been watching a little bit of a presser with Bill Haney mouthing off and making it all about him as per usual. But I go back to the last fight against Jose Ramirez, and hopefully he does change his style in terms of trading, which I don't think he's going to trade with Brian Norman Jr., lads. He looked petrified. Yes, people will come and say, well, it was against Ryan Garcia when he got knocked down several times, and he is a drug cheat, and I get it. I get that. But however, he has been knocked down. He has been hurt badly, and it's kind of irrelevant of the drugs. He was hurt, and when he got into the ring with Ramirez, every time Ramirez came forward with that kind of high guard, you can see the panic in his face. Right, quick, out the way, where am I going? This way, that way, this way, that way. Luckily for him, he's got such a good IQ, can box off the back foot and kind of just pot-shotted. And it was one of the worst fights we've seen this year on that Times Square card. I hope this is going to be a fantastic fight. We will obviously break down both fighters, but obviously Devin Haney, even though he's not the champion, he's the kind of A side. I'm not sure if he's the favourite or not still. But if he can kind of get rid of those demons and kind of take a step forward and take a punch of Brian Norman Jr. I know it's easy for me to say sitting here because they do and I don't. But unless he gets rid of that, I can see an absolute stinker here, lads. Naeem, what are you thinking about this one, mate?
No, I agree. I'm glad you put that. I agree. I think one thing that's been going on, especially with Devin Haney's career, is, like I said, on the online reaction has always been most people don't like Devin Haney, especially because his reaction since the Ryan Garcia fight, the Ryan Garcia performance, and everything he's done since then. And a lot of people haven't liked him since then. So sometimes bias does play a factor when it comes to certain people's predictions into this fight. And I've seen a lot of people basically say Brian Norman's all wrong for him. He's going to knock him out. I think that is possible because Brian Norman, we saw against the Sasaki fight, we saw against Giovanni Santillan, he's got that power to knock out. That left hook is really fluid. And against Devin Haney, when you saw that left hook land from Ryan Garcia, it's not as fluid and faster for Ryan Garcia's, but it's a weapon that can be used. And if you can time it properly, then it's a real problem for Haney. I think one of the issues Brian will have is this is the first level of opposition he's going to fight that's actually properly skilled. Say what you want about Devin Haney. He's got skills. He can move. He can box. He can jab. He knows his boxing. Whether you like how he boxes or not, he still knows how to do it. He still knows how to use the ring, how to get out of the way. Even if it stinks, he knows how to jab and clinch and win the rounds to get him the fight. So this is going to be one of a big step up in terms of the level of opposition. Now, he doesn't have to face any danger, Brian Norman. That's a plus point for him because Devin Haney is not going to have enough power to knock him out. And if he does, then we're going to have to start calling some drug agencies if Haney knocks out Norman in that fight. But he's not going to have to worry about that. So he can come forward and he can eat whatever jab and try to land his own shots. And the added factor that goes into him is Haney still looks mentally scarred from the knockdowns.
I think so.
Ryan Garcia. Like you said about Jose Ramirez, he looked shook whenever there was there was a combination, or if he could see a punch coming his way and he was boxing and trying to just get the way out there. And that affects his performance because you're not able to throw, he wasn't a big guy that punched a lot, but he threw more in his previous performances than he did in the Jose Ramirez fight. And that affects how you can fight. But I think the safe bet, even though a lot of people are going against the grain and saying, Brian Norman's definitely going to knock him out. I think Haney, like you say, stinking it out, jabbing, holding, clinching, getting the points and getting the rounds. I think that's more likely to happen because I just think Brian Norman, while he's explosive, he's quite good, on a good level. I don't think he's on that explosive world level where he'll be able to cut off the ring. But if he has a shot and he's able to get in the pocket, he will hurt Haney. And it will be very interesting to see how Haney reacts from that. But I've got to go Haney. I'm going to already say I'm going to go Haney decision, but it's a good fight that they've made.
Cutting off the ring. You've nailed it. You've nailed it. Cutting off the ring. As soon as he gets close, he'll be out the back door, Devin Haney. And he'll just be following him around the ring. Yeah, you've nailed it. You won't be able to cut the ring off, and I think that's going to be the problem, mate.
Yeah, you took the words right out of my mouth. I was going to say cutting off the ring. That's what Brian Norman Jr. should have been working in the 8-week, 12-week camp he's got, is to cut off the ring and not be chasing him around or trying to follow him around, because all he'll do is get frustrated. He'll throw wild shots. He'll try and roll the dice early and try and look for the knockout in early round. And just then it becomes a stinker. This fight all depends on how Haney approaches it for me. And I don't. I'm sure you both agree. I don't see Haney looking to go centre of the ring, just down and trade. He is not going to say he's on his bike, but he is going to box on the back foot, and he is going to show skills. And he's got those skills. You've got to remember, he's been in with Lomachenko. He's been in with these guys. Whether you thought he won or not against Lomachenko, that's for another day. But and listen, Brian Norman, I'm a fan of Brian Norman Jr. I think his boxing skills have improved with each fight. I think because he does carry one punch power. I think people overlook the fact that he can box. But if we're going against skills against Devin Haney, Devin Haney is the better boxer out of the two, and that's fine. But what he should be working on is cutting off the ring, like Naeem said, and he nailed it. Cutting off the ring. If he can manage to do that, which not many fighters have been able to do with Haney, then that's where he'll get his success. But if he can't, then frustration pops in, and then that's when it all goes to pot, and that's where you could get a stinker. So it's an intriguing fight. It's really boxer versus puncher. Like I say, that name value when this fight was first muted, I mentioned it to Dave, and Dave straight away said stinker. He could see it being a stinker from the offset. I hope it's not, but again, for me it depends on Haney. But Haney's never really been that type of guy who bites on the gum shield, tries to show macho. He's not that guy. So it could be a little bit of cat and mouse, which is what Uncle Turkey doesn't like, does he? But we shall see. I would usually go for Brian Norman Jr., but I can see Devin Haney boxing his way to a points decision.
One thing I want to add, just quickly, sorry, is a lot of times recency bias also forms the way we look at fights. And Brian Norman's knockout against Sasaki was insane. I mean, Sasaki lost weeks off his memory from that fight, but that style was built for him. Sasaki is a very defensively poor fighter. He's just a puncher that comes forward. Santillan's another puncher who just comes forward. The 3 knockouts he has are guys who are made for him that come forward. They don't know how to box. They're fighters. And he's a fighter too, but he can also box. But Haney's a pure boxer, and like you say. But the problem with Haney that I've said years ago is his mentality. Is sometimes he locks in for a fight, and other times he doesn't lock in. When he locks in, he's a brilliant boxer. Beat up Prograis. He really went toe-to-toe with Lomachenko and really done it well. Yeah. But the Ryan Garcia fight, he genuinely thought Ryan's beneath him, and that's why those things happen. He did that against Jojo Diaz, switched off. He did that against Linares, switched off. When he doesn't think you're on the level and he fights like that, he'll get in trouble. So that's another aspect to think about when it comes to this fight.
I think he's thinking like this as well, mate, to be honest, because Norman Jr. has been... Was he elevated, Naeem? Was it a vacant belt he won? I can't remember off the top of my head. Norman Jr.
I think vacant, because...
a vacant belt he won?
I can't remember. Terence Crawford had the belt, and then... He might have been interim, and then he became champion. No, I think.
I think he was emailed. Yeah, I think it was emailed.
Yeah, so he's probably looking at, even though he's emailed, but he's obviously the resume, 2-time world champion, etc. He's probably thinking that as well. If we see a kind of Regis Prograis performance, he'll get his flowers from me on here, because that was near perfect what he done that night. It wasn't just boxing. It wasn't just the IQ. It wasn't just the sweet science. He was landing at will. He put pro grade down. He looked $1 million. And you're right, Naeem. You know, recency bias does play a big part. But I just can't, even going back, I'm excited for this fight week. I'll go back and have a look at the fights of the last fights. And I went back and had a look at that Ramirez fight. Ramirez ain't the same guy that Josh Taylor fought. He's nowhere near. He was quite happy halfway, well, probably about 3 or 4 rounds in to think, you've got no intention of trading with me. I'm getting paid anyway. I'm just going to follow you around the ring, make silhouettes, fuck it. And everybody, like you said, every time there was a kind of jab coming out from Jose Ramirez, he panicked. And you could see it in his face. I watched the Darius Fulgham fight the other week. On that Golden Boy card. And he's very, very similar. You just got to touch him and he's all over the place. There's panic state. He doesn't know what to do. Devin Haney won't even get that close, I don't think. I think this is going to be an absolute stinker, and I think he wins it by pot shotting. I hate to say it because this is great. On paper, this is a fantastic match made, but I don't see Brian Norman getting close, and I think this is going to be the worst fight on the card. But I hope I'm wrong. I hope this is an absolute firecracker, but I just can't see it, boys. So I'm going for Devin Haney as well. A boring points victory, unfortunately. So just quickly before we move on, if he does get the victory, Devin Haney, the contenders in the division to face him next. I mean, say what you want about him. He does take on legit contenders or opponents and champions, whatever you want to say. But Garcia rematch, Jack Catchell, does Jack Catchell get a world title shot? Does he really want to go there? Forget Conor Benn, because that's even though it sells, it's name versus name. It's Conor Benn. We got blindsided on the weekend about him. But where do you see him going next? Unifying one of the weaker champions, or kind of going down the Lewis Crocker route? What do you reckon, boys? If he does win on Saturday night, I mean.
Go ahead. Yeah.
No, go on. No, I mean, you go, mate.
I think the plan's already set. If he wins this fight, he becomes WBO champion. Garcia's fighting Barrios in February. If Garcia wins, Haney Garcia 2 for unification at welterweight, and all the backstory behind it, and they're going to sell it as a huge mega pay-per-view fight. I think that's it.
What do you make of Garcia getting a world title shot off the back of a defeat?
Money talks.
Yeah,
that's it. It's
the wild west, isn't it? We say this every week.
He hasn't had a win at 147 ever in his career, and he's getting a world title shot. And the other guy that was probably going to get the shot is a guy that hasn't had a win at world title at welterweight in years either, in Ben. So.
Yeah, before we go into a rant about meritocracy, let's move on to Dave's favourite fighter, Jesse Bam Rodriguez. Why is he so? I've just watched a bit of the presser, and obviously to do the face-offs. Why is he so down on the cards, boys? I know he's a super flyer, but he's one of the faces of boxing. I know not for the casual fan, but for guys like us. You know, he's pound for pound 4 or 5 at least. He's like the 4th down on the card. I find it a little bit disrespectful that a superstar like this is so far down in a unification fight against literally the 2nd best super flyweight in the world in Puma Martinez. Why do you think he's so far down on the list, lads?
Go on, name.
I don't know what to say because it's not my platform and I don't want to get you guys in trouble.
No, you can say what you want, mate. It should be higher than this. It should be higher than this, in my opinion.
The people that made this card, the people that are involved with making these type of cards, don't know boxing properly in the sense of how a sport should be. Most of these fights should be in their respective countries. It's no crap to Saudi Arabia. Obviously, they deserve whatever fights. But for a fight like Bam Rodriguez and Puma Martinez should be in San Antonio, Texas, where Bam's been a legit headliner there. The reason it's so low down is because, again, they don't really care too much about Bam and Puma. They're just doing it because Eddie Hearn wants that fight, and it's been easier to set up because PBC don't have a TV deal, so they let Puma go to Riyadh season. And it's so low down, like I said, it's because they don't know how to put these cards on properly. Like, look at Better Be of Bivol 2. Buatsi, Callum Smith was on at 3 p.m. when the Premier League was on at the same time. Like,
no one in the stadium.
That should have been on in the O2. That should have been, or in Liverpool, and that would have done that. That would have been the talk of the entire week or month, whenever it would have been on. If it was a headliner, but that's why the people that make these events, they don't know how the sport works properly.
I think a great answer. I wouldn't have even gone there. I would have just said that people don't care about superflies. So you've kind of nailed it there, mate. I mean, this is a great matchup, irrelevant whether Eddie wanted it or Turkey wanted it or whatnot. This is 1 versus 2. I know there's an IBF champion as well to kind of make up the threesome, if you like. Both unbeaten. I said Bam's pound for pound. Puma, I've had a look at him now. I think most boxing fans have had a proper look at him going into this. Technically looks very good, very front-footed, throws loads of shots. But I think for me, I know Dave, I love him. I think most people love him. I think Bam is special. There's certain fighters you can call special that do download for a little bit, work you out, and methodically break you down. This guy hits like a middleweight. His feet, I've got a foot fetish already said in here today. But even Sonny Edwards was saying, he's got such a big head, and he said how skillful he is, and no one came close to beating him, etc. But even he had to admit, he says, when I expected him to put his feet there, he put his feet there. Even my mind couldn't understand how quick his feet were. And and that sort of things you look out for unless you're kind of watching boxing week in and week out, and you think, wow, he's done that way. He's done that way. Every time you watch Bam, a bit like watching Usyk and Crawford, you learn new things. This is a very, very special fighter. And for how good Puma Martinez is, and for how well he deserves his shot, unification fight, and kicking on and moving on to do bigger and better things, I think he's a level above, boys. From what I've seen, Bam Rodriguez is going to take this guy apart, whether it be early, middle rounds, or late rounds. We've got a very, very special. I know people don't like the terminology, but generational fighter on our hands, even Bam.
I agree. I think Bam's fantastic. It's the subtle movements that he does as well. Like you said, his feet there, but it's the pivot he does. He pivots to the right, and it almost spins you. And then before you know it, he's behind you, and he's throwing shots here. The body shots are unbelievable. I think this is going to be again. I talk about Yarde being dangerous for the first half of the fight. I think Martinez is, he's got confidence. He's trying to rattle Bam in the build up and in the face off, and he's trying to get under his skin. He's up for this fight, 100%. He's up for this fight, but I think he's going to find out that there is levels to this, in this fight. So I think he's going to come out early. He is a front-footed fighter, Martinez. He is going to try and put pressure on Bam Rodriguez, and Bam Rodriguez again is going to, he's going to stand center of the ring, and go toe to toe with him. But there is difference. There is in the way that they throw shots. There's a difference in the quality. Now I've looked at Martinez, and he does throw lots of shots, but he keeps his hands are quite low. He falls over his front foot in a lot that he does, and I can see Bam taking a step back like he did Estrada, and then one up to the body, one that he doesn't see. But I do think this is going to be competitive in the early rounds. I think this is going to be probably the fight of the night for me. I think you're going to have some excitement there. Bam, Bam doesn't take a backward step, and I'm looking forward to this fight. Like you said, 1 versus 2, we love that, I'm a massive fan of Bam. So and I think this is a sort of, not that we see him, we know him, but on a card like this, it's only good to put eyeballs on him as well. So I'm looking forward to this fight.
How many hours have you got? I could go on for days. I mean, I echo everything you guys say. I mean, Bam is one of those guys from the start. You knew he was special, even before he won a world title, before even Matchroom signed him. I said when Matchroom signed him, he was one of the signings that you have to watch out for. Even though he's small, he's really good. He's just been coming through the weights like nothing. He's had not really any blips. Tough fights a couple of years on, but now he just looks better with each fight. And like I say, he's a pound for pound generational talent. And this is one of the era-defining fights for him, because Puma is one of the top names he's fought in his career, alongside, Estrada and Rungvisai. This Puma is up there. Puma is really good. Puma, he's the opposite of Bam, where Bam's more technique, finesse, but he's got that killer instinct in him. Puma has that killer instinct, but more as a scrapper, wants to go forward, throwing the multiple combinations, wants to make it as rough and tough, because he knows he's got that dog inside him to do it. And he's quite accurate as well. Like, for someone who's a brawler, his technical ability is also good, because he's able to land so accurately and so cleanly. And I watched both his fights with Ioka live when I was in Japan.
Wins, back-to-back wins, weren't they?
Brilliant wins. But the problem that happened in those fights was he was also quite hittable. And Ioka, at the end of his career, was still able to make this a tough fight. I even thought Ioka actually won one of those fights, and I think Puma was fortunate to get the win. The body shots are going to be quite tricky for Puma to deal with, because when you have a guy who's very short and compact, sometimes his elbows don't come down as low as they should. Bam's going to recognize that easily. Bam will have issues when Puma goes on the assault, but the moment he gets the timing down, the moment he's able to read, download, and use his footwork, he's going to pick apart Puma. And I agree with you guys. This is going to be one of the most highest level fights we've had this year. But Bam is going to show the levels and really pick this guy apart. And people should be tuning into this, because this is one of the Bam's one of the best boxers to watch. I think he's better to watch than Usyk, Crawford, Inoue. I love those guys. I love watching them. I think Bam,
big shout. But I see where you're going.
In terms of watching, just pure aesthetics, I think Bam is much better to watch those guys, and he's just coming into his peak of his powers. And
he's 25. He's 25. He's prime, yeah.
Yeah, and lower weights typically it's a younger age where you come into your prime and you age. But these are the years to watch Bam, because I genuinely think he's going to keep rising through the rankings. He's going to keep being a star.
Where is he on your pound for pound currently?
Top 5.
Yeah.
So, for instance, if he's top 5, is he above Bivol for you, or is he below Bivol? Because that's the conversation people are having at the moment. The top 3 kind of are nailed, and obviously if Inoue does what we expect to do against David Picasso, it's even, that's done for the year. So is he above Bivol? You might not even have Bivol at 4 name. I'm just guessing.
No, I do. I think if he beats Puma, above Bivol, because Bivol has a win over another pound for pound fighter. I genuinely think Puma has a shout for being like top 10 or at least top 15. So he has a shout there, and to beat Puma, I think you'd have to put Bam as number 4.
Yeah, I agree.
Before we move on, I'm glad you mentioned. I forgot all about it. Obviously, him being a bit of a legend killer. You mentioned Rung Versailles, Estrada, Kudros, another one. Me and Dave had this conversation a few times. Chocolatito has been out this year. Not the same. Obviously, now he's about 104, whatever he is. But he's the only one left, isn't he? If you like, of the quartet. Now, I know Bam said he's one of his heroes and he wouldn't want to fight him. But from a selfish point of view, from a boxer point of view, to kind of add to your legacy, even at his age now, would you welcome the Bam versus Chocolatito fight?
No. At those weight classes, you don't get that many casual fans anyway. So the people that are going to really be tuning into those fights are the hardcore fans, and they all know Chocolatito's way past.
That's what I mean. From a selfish point of view, as you, Naeem, the boxing fan, he's got him left. He's the only one he hasn't done out of those, out of those legends, if you want, living legends in down at the lower weights. No, is that your answer? No.
There are other names out there that he's got. Like I said, the fight that I think would make Bam number 1 is Junto, because I genuinely think if he fights Junto, that's a style that's completely wrong for him. I think Junto would knock him out. The way Junto fights, and because Bam sometimes comes back in straight lines, Junto would, with his long arms, would be able to land something and knock him out. Those are the fights I think he needs to aim for.
Junto's too big for. Sorry, mate. Junto's too big for bantamweight. Anyway, isn't he? That's why he's stepping up.
At the time back then, when they were talking about 115, 118. So I think
fair enough. Yeah.
If Donaire wins his next fight, take on Donaire, I would knock that, because he'd be a champion at 118. That would be a fight I think he should entertain.
Yeah. He's another one that's retired and come back, and it's what it is. Yeah, but I agree, mate. This is what. Just tune in, ladies and gentlemen, to watch Bam Rodriguez do his stuff on Saturday night.
We never predicted there.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, go on then.
I'm going to go for Bam Rodriguez to not be under fire in the first half of the fight, but I think Martinez would have his moments. But I think Bam stops him with a body shot in round 7.
Yeah, same. I agree. 7 to 9, round 7 to 9. He picks apart Puma. Puma's tough, and like I said, I think it will just be a volume of either, like you say, a body shot and then a volume of shots that just cause the referee to step in.
I'll go in between, then I'll go round 8. Abdullah Mason, Sam Noakes, vacant WBO lightweight title. It's about time one of the sanctioned bodies done something correct. Belt vacant, not upgrading people, no email champions, no final eliminator after final eliminator. 2 guys that have paid their sanctioning fees, earned their ranking points, got to 1, got to 2, 1 versus 2. Let's go. Fantastic bit of matchmaking. This is the one I'm most looking forward to on Saturday night, boys. Very similar records. I think Sam Noakes has probably had the harder fight in terms of Mendy. Yes, he's about 39-40. He's lost about 7 fights, never been stopped. But that night when he fought Mendy, he realised he couldn't get rid of him like he had his previous 10, 11, 12 opponents, whatever it was, and he turned into a bit of a boxer. This is why I think it's closer than what some people are making out. And Abdullah Mason, I watch your stuff as well, Naeem, and I know you boys are quite high on him. But me and Dave are exactly the same. We've covered a lot more of his fights. He's waxed lyrical a lot more about more of his fights. And I just think, again, just talking about Bam, at the age of, I think if he wins the title on Saturday, he becomes the youngest current active world champion. And apart from him getting dropped and getting up and demolishing his opponent, you can call him a club level fighter, whatever, he doesn't really do a lot wrong, does he? this is the biggest test he's had in his career, and defensively, right? Let's go straight into it. Defensively, there are mistakes there, but he's 21. He's still learning. When he got put down, but I think it was Vasquez put him down. If that was Sam Noakes, I watched the Fight Disciples the other day, and they were kind of saying the same thing I was thinking. Sam Noakes would have probably smelt blood and gone in for the kill. Even though he wasn't hurt, buzzed, or vacant, he was in a position where he'd never been before, and he jumped up straight away, like Chris Eubank Jr. He ain't got the experience to take a knee and wait. So I think Noakes would have jumped all over that. That's the only downfall I can see in his game at the moment. This guy's going to be a superstar. Fast, slick, spiteful. Even though he's on at like 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning for us boys in the UK, I always make sure I tune into him. We've got another possible generational talent, going forward. But I can't wait for this. I'm at work on Saturday night, lads, but I will be watching it anyway because of the time difference and whatnot. But this will be the one fight that I'll be setting my alarm for and getting up to watch, because I think Sam Noakes will have his moments. I think Abdullah Mason will have his moments. It's just how you boys see, or how everybody sees it's going to end. I don't think it's going to go the full 12 for X, Y, and Z reasons. But yeah, how looking forward are you boys for this one? Because out of all of these fantastic fights, this is the one I'm most looking forward to.
I mean, I think it's a fight that it's a great fight. Is it one thing just to look forward in the future? Is it maybe one step too early to take a world title fight now in Mason's career? Because one thing we've mentioned, especially I think because it's such a big topic with Anthony Joshua's career, was it too early to go for the world title? Obviously, you need to go for a world title, but when it comes to development, if you go for the world title, then you can't come back down in levels. But Sam Noakes.
But I think, sorry, Naeem, just before I forget to add that bit, but because I think these two are so well matched. I think that's why I think it's perfect matchmaking as well. Abdullah Mason's not going in with a veteran and a former undisputed champion that's had so much experience, or a killer that's been avoided. I think they've gone on the same kind of paths, and they're matched perfectly now. This you can have a good conversation here about this being 50-50. Do you know what I mean? So he's not going in with like a Devin Haney for an example. Maybe it's a bad example. Say, oh, do you know what? Maybe this is too early. Devin Haney's been at this level. He's fought that one. He's been 2-time, champion of the world. Maybe a few more before you go down that route. Sam Noakes is in the same conversation as Abdullah Mason. Is it too early for him? I know there's 7 years difference. I just think it's perfect. I think it's perfect top. I do get your point. Sorry to interrupt you, mate, about him being a young world champion.
No, I agree that the fight is perfect for both of them. I just think in the future, if Mason wins, he can't come back down again. It has to be now the world level fighters, and sometimes that can stunt your development because you didn't have that in between.
Yeah, that's fair.
But this is a good fight to see whether or not Abdullah Mason is the star that we've made him out to be. Like, does he have those skills? And like you said, he's got loads of defensive deficiencies, which we've seen. Him getting dropped. He doesn't move his head as often as he should. Sometimes when he commits, his head is on the line there. But does it come out in this fight? I'm not sure. With Sam Noakes, brilliant engine, brilliant chin, and he's a good compact combination puncher. The problem is, I think Mason's skills are quite good and he's quite sharp, and that sharpness is going to serve him really well. Being able to be sharp, move, stick that jab out. I think Sam Noakes will have a bit of issue of trying to come in, but because he works so hard, Sam will be able to find his moments in, be able to work the body and really make it rough and tough for Abdullah Mason. And for both guys, because Sam Noakes has also been riding kind of high where Queensbury and British lot have been backing him to kind of at least go to world level at least. He's got an opportunity.
He's here now.
And he's got the opportunity now to show that he can go and become a world champion, and to show he's got more in the locker, because he's not old himself. I think he's at 28.
28, yeah.
So this is the best time for him to go for a world title. So both guys are at that position where you can't take a step back. You have to show now what you've made of and how far in your career you can go, because Mason's got the pressure of people expecting him to become a multi-weight world champion. Sam Noakes has now got that pressure of, this is a guy a lot of people around the world think are going to beat me, and a lot of people have backed me to go on to become a world champion, or at least to go on and fight for one. I'm going to prove everyone wrong, and I want to knock this guy out. I just don't think Sam is quick enough, and I think quickness is going to be the difference here. And I think Mason, even if he doesn't have the most stellar performance where he completely breaks apart Noakes, I think he's got the sharpness, the movement to win the rounds, bank the rounds, and get this win under. I don't think he's going to shine in the sense of, he's going to look like this indestructible force and just destroying everyone in front of him, but he's going to look really good. And Sam will test him and make him better, but I just think Sam will just be a step behind, and it'll be like an 8-4 type of fight to Abdullah Mason.
Well, you're not going to stoppage now?
No. It's tough though. I mean, the percentages say stoppage, but a lot of times I think that when the percentages say stoppage, when it says you've got 2 big punches, a lot of the times you don't get that knockout.
As long as you're not saying stinker, because
No.
so I can't wait for it. But yeah, I get your point.
What I like about this fight is that Sam Noakes has never fought anyone like Abdullah Mason, and Abdullah Mason has never fought anyone like Sam Noakes, and that's what makes this fight exciting for me. Like you said there, we're going to see what Abdullah Mason's got when he's got someone that's on his chest that's trying to push him back. And the difference for me in this fight is going to be accuracy. Like you said there about Abdullah Mason, he's faster, he's more spiteful, and he's more accurate. And I think he's got the tools to slow down Sam Noakes' engine and stunt, and make him have to think about his offense when he's trying to set up his shots. He's got to think about it because he could be countered on the way in. And I think so. There's so much to think about, and that's what makes this fight exciting for me. I think this is going to be razor close fight. This, and that's exactly what you want from number 1 and number 2. I totally agree with you guys saying that this is, even though it's for a world title, it's not a world level fight at this stage in their careers. If this was made for an eliminator or anything like you wouldn't be pissed off.
We said that about Lewis Crocker and Paddy Donovan, didn't we? We said it's not really a world title fight. That they're not kind of really world class fighters. So maybe it's the Broadway era that spoils it a little bit. Yeah,
exactly. If there's only one belt, this fight being made here you would have another 3-4 fights before you fought for the world title.
Yeah.
That's a fact. But because they're so fragmented and there's belts everywhere, these opportunities go. And fair play. Listen, you can't take it away from them. But this, I'm looking forward to this fight. And I mean, for me, the Bam fight is the one I'm looking forward to the most. But this is a close second. And this is one that I do believe can go either way. I just think that the skill set and the accuracy and the sharpness leaning towards Mason will be the difference. But I do believe that the engine of Noakes is going to cause Mason problems, and Mason is going to have to think about and have moments in the fight where he's under fire and he has got to think, and he is going to go through things that he's not experienced in any of his fights before. Yes, he was dropped, but that was just lazy. It was a flash knockdown, them 2 knockdowns. It was overzealous, but he wasn't hurt in that, and he can't make them kind of mistakes against Sam Noakes. So this is what makes it really, really interesting. And I think this is going to be a really, really close fight. But I think by a round or 2, it's going to swing towards Abdullah Mason on points for me.
I think Abdullah Mason gets off the canvas and stops Sam Noakes. I think he gets knocked down. I think if training with his dad and his 5 brothers, he's going to learn to have to take the knee, reset, go again. And we spoke. You made a good point there, Dave. Nobody's fault. Sam Noakes never fought anybody like Abdullah Mason, and vice versa. But also going through what I think I know and having a look and following Sam Noakes, I don't think Sam Noakes has fought anybody that hits as hard as this. This guy, relevant if it is club level opponents and journeymen, you can still have a half decent chin. This guy, it's like fuck. And I do think it's a poke the bear moment. You're going to poke the bear, and you're going to see a kind of a little bit of a stellar coming out moment, if you like. Yes, I know we're talking levels, but he will be the world champion. And Naeem, you are right what you're saying, because once he does win this fight, he can't kind of go back down. You've got like your Tanks and your Moratellas and your Andy Cruzes and your Schofields of the world. These are the guys that he's got to go through next. He can't kind of go back down. Yes, he can have voluntaries and mandatories. Boxing's a Wild West. You can fight who you like, but he's there. Then he's at top of the mountain. But can he do it? We'll find out on Saturday night. Mate. Muhammad Al-Akil's on this as well. We'll go over to Brighton Friday night to finish off the show. I didn't realise until I watched the public workout yesterday, he's left Joe Gallagher and he's gone to what's Thingy's old Gloffin's old trainer?
Abel Sanchez.
It was Abel Sanchez. He's on all Turkey's cards, isn't he? The Saudi Arabian kid. I think he must be out in Big Bear now. Yeah, Muhammad Al-Akil. So watch out for him. He's pretty an exciting prospect. So let's jump over to Brighton to end the show, guys. This is on Channel 5 Friday night. Oh, just quickly for the Saudi. Is that pay-per-view? Because was it part of our subscription? Because they're not feeding it down your throat like they did last week with Eubank Ben, are they?
It's pay-per-view.
Is it pay-per-view? Yeah.
Yeah.
But this ain't pay-per-view anyway. Harlem Eubank, Josh Wagner, Channel 5 Friday night. As I said, destination Brighton. A Point to Prove is the name of this card, boys. It's going literally off the Jack Catchell fight, that stinker we saw earlier on in the year. Look, you ain't going to prove any points by beating Josh Wagner. Let's be totally honest. Unless you're a proper boxing hardcore, I've had to box wreck him. I've had to go and have a look at some of his stuff. Dave, we covered a fight a few weeks ago with Liam Parrow and David Papo. Papo, who couldn't, by his record, couldn't punch a hole for a wet paper bag and give Parrow all sorts of trouble. Still not probably a world level fighter, if you like, but he's knocked out Josh Wagner. I think this is a nice little Christmas present, money in the bank for Harlem Eubank to look good on Channel 5 and then kick his career on in 2026. I can't see him having any problems whatsoever with Wagner from what I've seen in watching YouTube clips and a bit of action from him,
Yeah, no, I watched a bit of him on him this morning. I am not 100% sold on this fight. I'm not excited about it, and it's difficult. It's a difficult sell when you just talk about the 4 fights that we've just gone on about. So, but looking at Josh Wagner does a lot of what Harlem Eubank. I can see these two cancelling each other out, and you're talking about stinkers. I think this could be one. There's so much movement, unnecessary movement, like the Harlem Eubank did against Jack Catchell, but not a lot of output. And watching Josh Wagner, he does the same thing. So I could see a very much a Strictly Come Dancing sort of situation, where these two are just doing this and waiting for the other one to make a move and trying to counter. I'm not sold on this fight. I don't really know. Like I say, I've seen Harlem Eubank talking today saying this is the fight he needs for him to now then push on to world level. I don't see it. I don't really understand that. But
is he ranked? Is Harlem Eubank ranked in any of the top 15? Does anybody know without going on BoxRec? I'm not sure he is he?
I wouldn't imagine so.
No. Sorry, Dave.
No. But so I could see this being a bit of a stinker. I mean, I think this would be more of a stinker than you think Devin Haney could be. Harlem Eubank was, his boxes on Channel 5 often. He has had a couple of fights on there which haven't been great. And I don't see, from what I see of Josh Wagner, he does try to come forward. He does, makes a few shapes and does try, but I can see it's going to be a lot of hugging, falling in and fall over the front foot, and all that sort of stuff. So I expect Harlem Eubank to win, but I'm going to go for Harlem Eubank on points. I don't see this being a great fight for Channel 5.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, it's one of those ones where it's just another Wasserman night where it's going to drag on until 11 p.m. You're going to turn on back to Channel 5 and be like, oh, they're still on, and the next movie's not turned on yet, and you're going to turn back off to ITV or something. Harlem Eubank has the Eubank name, but he hasn't ever been able to capitalize on it simply because he doesn't sell himself quite a lot at all. No. He requires others to do it for him. And a majority of his fights have been on Channel 5. And yeah, he's the dance partner for the prospects, not the other way around. He doesn't need a prospect to big himself up. He's the guy that you use to get your fighter to become a bit bigger. I'm surprised that Boxer didn't get Harlem Eubank and Adam Azim over the line, because that was a surefire way to make Azim a proper name, go to Brighton, knock out Eubank in front of all of his home, and you would have made him a bigger star from there. Eubank is just one fight away from making a bigger name bigger. That's what my opinion is. I don't look at him at someone that's ever going to really contend. Even the Catchell fight, he was going to lose that. Whichever way this goes, he was always going to lose that fight. And he's at welterweight now, so it's like, who does he really go and fight? You could do Harlem Eubank versus Conor Benn and run the.
What do you think about it? You're laughing, but what do you think about it? Again, it'd be a kind of a little bit of a cash grab for the. You could sell a narrative there, couldn't you? The name, the cousin, senior is still involved. I think with Harlem. What would you go down that route? I know you probably for money wise, but that's quite a. Who would you see winning that?
Probably Conor Benn, given how he's improved in his last fight. I think he even though Chris was quite shot.
It was awful.
Fight. Yeah. But he showed improvements with his technical ability. Like he's jabbing more, going to the body, and he's got a lot of energy for 12 rounds, and that's always tough to deal with. I think he'll have more energy than Harlem Eubank. I think Eubank's usually used to being the more athletic and quicker fighter in most of his fights, and if he comes up against Conor Benn, it's the opposite. He won't be the quicker and more athletic fighter, and I think Ben would probably beat him. How? I don't know, because I haven't seen Ben fight at welterweight in years, so it's hard to gauge how a fighter would look at a certain weight. Should they do it? Probably not. I don't think it will sell at all. Even if you're talking about the names, Harlem is just someone no one really knows about. Like I said, he hasn't put much effort into building himself, and he's just always in the background. So again, this might be on in the background, or might just catch the highlights. It's not something that I think
before the midnight movie.
Dave always says that they sell this as Eubank, but they never mention the Harlem bit first when they're putting it on the adverts of Channel 5, so that people go in and think, oh, well, what Eubank's this? You know, they think it's Eubank Jr. or anyone else, but then they see it's Harlem, and then they go back to ITV and watch I'm a Celebrity, Get Me Out of Here.
He said it done numbers last time, didn't he, Calla? Who did it? Was it McKenna? Was it Tyrone McKenna on Channel 5?
Yeah.
And Calla said he done massive numbers. And it was like they asked X amount of people and they thought it was Chris Eubank Jr. So they just tuned in and left it on. So you two haven't solved this fight very well. I'm not surprised. Where are you going with the predictions dying for this last one, mate?
Eubank points. I think he'll just labour to a points decision.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, I think we're all in agreement there, mate. That's on Friday night if anybody cares. Just quickly before we go, we do a winners weekly wager, Naeem, where we make a prediction every week. Whoever wins picks the banker of the week. We turn the points into pounds, and we're going to put it to a boxing charity of people off Twitter and Instagram's choice at the end of the year. So you're the guest, mate. All the fights we've covered tonight. Where is your banker of the week going?
The one that I think is going to be perfect, that I'm going to put my money on.
Yeah, basically, yeah.
That's tough because obviously not the. To be fair, the smart choice probably would be Eubank because of how crap that fight is. But, now I want to pick out one of the four because it's quite tough to pick out one of the four. I think does it also method count as well, right?
Yeah. It's more points that way, yeah.
Yeah, Benavidez points. I think that's a banker. I genuinely think that's probably going to be a banker.
So that would be 3 points. We double it to 6, then we turn it into pounds, and we'll add it to the £140 kit we got. So you go Benavidez, yeah?
Yeah.
Lovely jubbly, mate. Also, this is the last bit. Tomorrow's a big thing going on tomorrow, boys. I know you'll have the Chris Eubank. I'm saying it now. Harlem Eubank fight in the background, mate. But I think just a bit later than that, we've got a big presser. Jake Paul, AJ in Miami. Will you be tuning into the press out of curiosity at all? What's your thoughts? I mean, Tyson Fury said he's betting £1 million. He's going to spark him out. I had to add that in. I haven't seen. I've seen some of your comments, obviously on Twitter and whatnot, but. Just quickly, thoughts on this. I mean, the presser's tomorrow. It looks like it's going to happen, or maybe it doesn't. Everyone's got Netflix. People will be tuning in. AJ Paul, what are you thinking, brother?
I mean, it's a clown show and it's a money grab. But at the end of the day, do you blame AJ? I think the kind of plan I think for AJ was to have an 8-rounder by the end of the year. What better way to do an 8-rounder with Jake Paul? A less amount of risk, and you're making a crap ton more money. But it's going to make the sport look stupid because, AJ is still a big name, and recent, he was a world champion like 3 years ago, and he's fighting an influence in Jake Paul, who's a cruiserweight as well. And the fact that it got sanctioned, the fact that we're doing this is a joke. I understand why. Like I said, money talks, but it makes the sport look stupid because you run a double jeopardy. If AJ doesn't look amazing and knock him out, well, they wonder, how good are boxers if a world champion like AJ can't knock out an influencer. But then if AJ does lock in and he really blasts out Jake Paul and hurts him seriously, they're going to call boxing a barbaric sport. Look what they did to this guy. How did they sanction this fight between, a civilian and a boxer and all of that? So it's a clown show, but boxing's become a clown show for the last couple of years. So it doesn't surprise me that this has happened. But credit to AJ in terms of getting the money. Look, you're getting the money. Forget that. So fair enough.
And what happens if Jake Paul lands the gift from the gods? It's got to be spoken about. I don't care if we say it on here. Not that anybody's going that way, but what if he throws a few silly, wilder windmills and actually catches him? I don't know. I know I'm playing devil's advocate, but what if we do see the gift from the gods? I mean, he would call the Andy Ruiz shot a gift from the gods, but Andy Ruiz was a professional. That it was completely opposite. But yeah.
And people forget Andy Ruiz has been boxing since he was like 4. He was actually a proper rated amateur.
Exactly.
And all that. If he somehow knocks out AJ, then you have to wrap up. You have to wrap up the entire sport. Like, the entire sport must be there is literally no point of continuing.
No more podcasts.
Yeah.
No more boxing. No more boxing. It's simple at that point. So.
Mate, can you imagine? Right. Let's leave it on that then, mate. Any shout outs, your handle, where to find your fantastic podcast and all that kind of jazz?
We're on YouTube at Ringside Fracas and also on Twitter and Spotify. So follow us there for all our views and whatnot at Ringside Fracas. And yeah, just keep tuning in. Every week we have a podcast, so keep tuning in and keep tuning into the Roper.podcast podcast, because I love you guys' Twitter account and your podcast. So keep watching and keep tuning into your clips. You guys always have something good to say, so it's always a pleasure to come on here and talk boxing with you.
And same to you, mate. Thanks for the plug. And your echo exactly the same you say there. Make sure you come on again before Christmas. There's still bits and pieces going on, isn't there? Obviously, we've got a new Picasso, the semi-final with Nakatani, all that kind of jazz. Another ring card special. But yeah, that's the end of episode 159. Yeah, 159. Please like, share, and subscribe via YouTube and Spotify. And we'll be back on Monday for a bit of a review of everything that's gone down. David boy, see us out, mate.
John Fury said that AJ will beat Jake Paul with his dick. So on that note, have a lovely week and enjoy the boxing.
Peace out, guys.